Well, what's up, guys? This is Akio, and we are back with another exclusive Wire Wednesdays. On this week, we're going to take a different approach. I just want to be able to discuss about. I want to go into discussion about this rare moment. That kind of had led me in. Well, I was on set of We Own the City, and that one conversation led to me being able to speak with David Simon and how he explained to me how he still had one of my art pieces all the way back from 2007. It was another full circle moment. And as you know, since we've been talking about this series, I have plenty of them. You know what I mean? So, I just want to talk about how I've got invited on set of We Own the City. I was contacted by a good friend of mine's, Juan, and also Donna. They were actually people that was working in the wardrobe department, and they have long connections with the Wire as well. And I knew them for a minute, but they had seen my work over the years, and they was like, "Yo, we want you a part of this We Own the City project." And this is like a couple of months prior to them actually being filmed. So they pretty much had my credentials, and they've known my reputation that I've had with doing wearable art, and they wanted to incorporate my pieces not only being as used as wrap gifts, but they wanted my pieces to be on display in the series. And this was also an opportunity. They had reached out and they was like, "Hey, Akio, we know that you're a filmmaker. Is there any chance that you've been able to document any of the authorities that were um, employed back in the day?" And I gave them some footage to use as reference to utilize, you know, uh, what they wore back in the day. Because when I used to canvas with Safe Streets, I used to canvas with, a few members of the Safe Streets crew. And I remember one time it was an interaction between the knockers. The knockers are, you know, authorities who don't necessarily wear a uniform, and I had footage of several footage, you know what I'm saying, about what they wore. So they just used that for one of the scenes to be able to create that. And I was just grateful to be a part of that. But also, a good friend of mine's, D. Watkins, he had wrote episode 3, and he had contacted me, and he was just like, "Yo, like the pair of shoes that he wore in that scene. If you guys ever looked at it, if not, I very encourage you guys to look at that series. We Own the City is based on true events, but he had wore one of the shoes actually on set, and he would always joke about how as soon as he took the shoes off, wardrobe had immediately took them, and they kind of like tucked them away. It was funny because it was like, yo, he was like, yo, I looked left and the shoes was gone. He was upset about that because what I chose to utilize and put on the shoes was some personable images on there. It was dope, you know what I mean? But when I was on that set that day, I had met George Pelecanos. Now keep in mind we were still wearing masks. This was like in, I want to say, 2021, and I had just came from a Dave Chappelle concert not that long ago, so I had my Dave Chappelle mask. And I remember I was we was taking a break, and the guy Larry, shout out to Larry, what up? Uh, Larry, he is a filmmaker as well, but he was working as an assistant on set, and he was just sharing with people who I was, you know what I mean? Because I just was, I wasn't introducing myself. I just wanted to work and just get in and get out. But he was just like, nah, yo, these people need to know who you are. And I remember he had introduced me to George Pelecanos. Now, at the time, I didn't know who George Pelecanos was. Now I do. This guy's a writer, author. And here I am. I'm talking to him, not knowing who he was and how much of he has, contributed to The Wire and We Own This City. And he was moved by the story about me talking about my first interaction with David Simon. And he said, "Hey, yo, David's in the back in the editing suite. You want to meet him? As a matter of fact, follow me." So then it was like the whole set was watching. I went over there to him, and then I remember it was David, and he was sitting around two other people. And here I am, I'm walking on set where he was, and he didn't know who I was underneath the mask. And the very first thing I said, George introduced me, and he was like, "This is Akio." He said he just knew you for back in the day. And they was like, "Hey man, how you doing?" I said, "Yeah man, wow man, the last time I seen you was at DeAndre McCullough's funeral." And when I said that, he took a small step back. He was like, "Oh yeah." I was like, "Yeah man, I remember it like it was yesterday. You were very upset, but I'm glad you got through it." And I said, "I remember I had asked you," and keep in mind, I still had my mask on. I said, "I remember I had asked you when I came back to the funeral because I wasn't going to go back, but someone told me to go back." And I ran into Donnie, and at the time, Donnie had just passed away not that long ago. And I was like, I remember Donnie told me to holler at Rod. And when I mentioned Rod to him too, he knew Rod because David would have dinner with Fran, DeAndre McCullough, and Rod every other Sunday. You know what I mean? He still would spend time with the family, even after the corner was shot, even after the wire was shot. David was good friends with the McCullough family. So when I explained that, and I also shared with him, I said, "Yeah, man, I remember you told me that day at DeAndre's funeral that you said you still have the shirts, and I've been wanting to ask you for the longest time, man. Like, where are the shirts? Where are they?" He said, "Man, they're still in my office. They're in a frame." He said, "Yeah, man, I still have those shirts, man. I cherish them." He said, "Like I said, told you before, I can never wear them. They're collector's items." Now that was all the way into 2021, and he had them since 2007. And I was just like, "What?" Like, and then he was like, and we talked for about like 25, 30 minutes. And he said, "Man, let's get this picture, man." So we took another picture. We took our second picture together, and we pulled down our mask. And he's like, "Man, stay in touch with me, man." And I was just, to say my goodbyes. And as I walked away from the editing suite, people was just like, "Yo, what was y'all talking about?" He said, "David doesn't never speak to nobody, you know what I mean, on set." You know what I mean? And I was just like, y'all was just talking about our history, how we have history, how we was always in the same rooms, and we have a lot, and I was, just talking to people about the small things, and it was a great experience. Only 2 months later, I was contacted by HBO again to do um, a design for rap gifts for 350 people. I'm talking about the actors, cast and crew, production assistants, people that was invited to the red carpet event in New York. They paid for my room and board to come out there in New York at Times Square. I had opportunity to bring some people on board and have a good time, and that experience was amazing. They had commissioned me to make a We Own the City rap gift, so and they had my work exhibited at Times Square. So my work that I did on We Own the City, like the shoes that was worn in the series, I had an opportunity to have my shoes on display at the red carpet after party event, and I signed over 350 hoodies that night. It was wild, y'all. I was just signing away, man. These hoodies had like the city skyline, and at the bottom it had the row homes, and at the top it had the city, and it had We Own the City on the chest area. But it was really exciting, man. But it was just a full circle moment for me, and just reflecting on the evolution of me having connections and building relationships with HBO. That was like the second or third time I've worked with HBO, because in 2020 I was contacted to do rap kiss. 250 wooden boxes was made for the Charm City Kings film because nobody was going to the movies because of COVID. So the team of We Own the City, the premiere, they had hired me to do these boxes, and I've utilized the Baltimore City flag into the boxes, and I put movie stills, and they had um, made me artistic director of those boxes. And that same design, I was able to use that design to be one of the designs that I sold at Soundgarden. And that design at Soundgarden from the Charm City Kings film, the diamonds that wound up being uh, collected by Chris Rock moments after the incident that happened at the Oscars. And then after that, when Chris Rock got it, when he purchased it, when he bought the shirt, one of my shirts, that's when the mayor had was seen in it, and a lot of people just purchased that shirt. So it's been exciting, and you know I just encourage viewers to value their journey. Right where you are, start where you are. Just value your journey. And I did, and I kept mentioning that I would have a drop that I'm planning to release. I actually have it on. This is the Wu Tang, the Be More from the Be More piece. And I plan to release this Wednesday, May 28th, which is next Wednesday. And we already know Wednesday stands for Wire Wednesdays, but also stands for the Wu Tang Wu Wednesdays. So be on the lookout for that. Um, but yeah, have you ever had something in a moment where things had came full circle for you? Just drop a comment. I want to hear that, and let me know your thoughts on this full circle moment. And also, I want you to share your favorite Wire or Baltimore moment. You know what I mean, that you can think of. Man, let's celebrate and let's preserve history because you just never know, how much of an impact your journey and how much we are leaving our mark and how we're helping others leave their mark as well. So thank you guys for tapping in. Be on the lookout for tomorrow. And I appreciate you guys for just leaving feedback and just continuing to watch. I really appreciate you guys. Peace.